So we're going to talk about vintage things that I use in my journals and in my art. And we're going to talk about alternatives as well. So things that I use in my journals, and then some alternatives if you cannot find what you're looking for. So we'll start with labels. So I have a collection of vintage labels, and I just find them in places. Sometimes you can find them in vintage stores. Sometimes you'll buy them and they're completely empty, which is fine too, because I like the box too, so I just keep it. But like these gummy labels that are so old and so beautiful, I just love them and I use them a lot. But there's also vintage inspired things. These are not vintage, but they're vintage inspired. I have a couple of them in here. And I just look on Etsy and on Amazon, and when I'm looking for something specific, so like vintage inspired labels, and it will pull up something that's similar to vintage, but not quite the same. So you kind of have to realize that you're not going to get exactly vintage, but you'll get something that might add some interest to your journals. So just kind of be open to the let it be fluid, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So when I bought these, I was just like, okay, this wasn't what I was looking for. So then these ones were more vintage looking, vintage inspired, but these ones here, they're too bright white for me. So I just thought I could take and tea dye them. I could make them look older, or I can take a stamp pad and like rough up the edges a little bit. I can make them work. So that's what I mean by like, just kind of be open. And like paper clips, there are some vintage inspired paper clips, and they are more like this. They're bigger. You can get smaller ones. These ones are bigger, but you can see how they're similar, but not quite the same. This is a vintage, this is a new. And I have smaller ones in here somewhere, but see, this is vintage. And sometimes you can find them very, very close to these in wedding supply shops and that kind of thing, but maybe not exactly. And these ones here are this shape. I love this shape. I just think it's fun and interesting. But I love these. These can be pricey. So a lot, like you can see, I buy a lot of paper clips because I use a lot of paper clips, and I just kind of find fun ones, and I do have these vintage ones mixed in here, but the vintage ones are my favorite. And so every now and then you can come across a package of like 100 of them, and then you've won it. Like you've won the lotto, because most of the time I'm buying them in lots of 10, which is not my favorite. While I have this, we'll talk about this too. Tins. I love tins for holding my supplies, for becoming journals, for just all kinds of things. And I love vintage tins. And Tim Holtz has a line of these vintage inspired tins. I love them too. It doesn't bother me that they're not vintage. I like just the grungy look to them. So like, don't count out vintage inspired, I guess is my thing here. Vintage stamps can be found very, very inexpensive. Like these ones are specific. So I paid a little more for these. I was looking for something specific, but I've bought whole books of stamp collections online before for $30, and they're full of stamps. So vintage stamps are a fun thing to add to your artwork, but that's just not a lot of money. And I just think they add such a nice detail. I just love them. Vintage papers. So vintage papers, I like all of them. I like onion skin. I like ledger. I love novel books, music paper, all of it I love. But if you're not really into finding and buying those old books, there's a lot. I have these, and so do other sellers have copies of their favorite vintage papers on their website, so you can get digital copies of them. And I use them a lot. Like if I find a really good vintage piece of paper and I don't want to waste it, or I want to use it over and over again, I'll take a picture of it, make it digital so that I can share it with others. But then also, then I can use it without using the original, especially like these older pieces. I don't like using these up. So a lot of times I will take pictures of them and do the digital way for them. So look for that as well. Just like digitals of vintage paper is a nice option too. I'm going to move this out of the way here for a minute. Tickets and tabs. I love tickets, tabs, flashcards. Let's see what else we got here. Vintage checks, canceled checks, prescriptions, canceled prescriptions, all kinds of things. Oh, here we go. This is a vintage flashcard. You can see this is the color, and I just watercolored on it, and it made a fun watercolor drawing there. This is a tag. This is some kind of, excuse me. Let's see. Safety stamp cards. I don't know what this is from, but I really liked them. Let me move these out of the way. And like Rolodex cards. We aren't using these anymore, but man, they're just fun. They're just fun to use. I use these on a lot of things. Rolodex cards, like I'll cut them off or I'll actually use them in my Rolodex. But these are just a nice option. Just look for this type of stuff. And these, I think you can get whole boxes for pretty cheap, I think. I've gotten full boxes for fairly cheap. Flashcards are getting a little higher. I used to be able to find those, and I'm not finding as many as I used to. I used to get full boxes of just beautiful flashcards. Now they're broken down, and I still buy them because I like working on flashcards. I even did a whole 100-day project on painting on flashcards. I love flashcards. Put these to the side. Old books. So I have two versions here. This one I got in Italy. And the paper is pretty white, but I like the binding because it's a soft cover. I'm loving the soft cover. This is, I try to find books that are published before the 1900s, but this one was published in 1970. But I still just I thought the book was still pretty well put together, and so I decided to grab it. And I liked the cover. So like a lot of, like if I'm gonna watercolor on the paper, I'm a little more picky. But if I'm just gonna draw, sketch, paste, I don't really care so much about what the paper is. This one here is a French journal, and it's got that embossed cover. I just love this book. So I wanted to use this as a journal. And it's, let's see if we can find a year on this one. The paper's quite nice, 1875. So it's right where I need it to be. It's funny because like that's a handwritten, the editor handwritten there, which is kind of unique, I think. And this one is all in French, and you can feel the press in the paper. I love that. Like, just paper to me is just so much fun. But anyways, so look for vintage books, old books, even some contemporaries. Like I've bought in some of my favorite books that like Pride and Prejudice and those type of books that you can get for fairly cheap right now, but to just use the phrases in the books is kind of a nice thing too. So some of those old books that have been published are nice to do too. But anyways, books are fun fun one to use. Okay, this is one that I got into a few years ago, and it's maybe even not been that, maybe 2 or 3 years. Anyways, but vintage seed packets. I just love them. I just think they're so much fun. This is of the same one, but I just love it. It's like it's an odd shape because it's really long and skinny, and I really like that. I think this is French. I think this is French. And some of these are just probably they're in 1900s, I'm gonna guess. There's not a date on them, but yeah, but they're just super cute. I just think I like the artwork on them. I think they're fun, and I take them apart and trace them. I even have some regular ones in here, but there's some and I love looking at the price. Like this one says 10 cents, 15 cents. You're not getting that anymore. I think I paid on these, I think I paid like $10 for these packets. These these new ones like this. I think these, oh, here we go, $7. I'm like trying to find a price tag on. These ones I paid $7 for, but I just still thought they were cute. And then they have some seeds from Alaska, which I thought was kind of fun. So anyways, seed packets are a fun thing to collect that are even now. So like even if you found one and that in your seed store, your plant store, or Lowe's or whatever, and you like the flower on the front, they make nice additives to your journals. Vintage fabrics. Love these for making covers, adding little things to journals, to just all the things. I just love vintage fabrics. And they have these beautiful, this is a handkerchief, and it's got a beautiful embroidery on it. They're just gorgeous, I think. This one is another one. Just gorgeous. I got a couple of them here. Let's see. You can see how nice they stitched. I love them. But anyways, vintage fabrics are fun. Okay, my major addiction is old photos. I have many when it comes to vintage things, but old photos are my favorite. And these just came in, and I like photos. I collect them where they've cut off people in the photo. I love that for some reason, or it's off center. I like that. I like them all, but I tend to see they cut his head off. It's my favorite. I just think they're hilarious, and I just think they're interesting. I have a bunch in here. Let's see. These are ones that are photo faux pas here. So they cut people off here, cut off there. The reason I think they're interesting is because they couldn't retake they didn't know until they printed the photos. It's not like digital age where they could see the accident, their mistake while they were doing it. They paid a lot of money to develop them, and so they held on to them. This one I love for a couple reasons. She's kind of cut off here, and then there is a photo bomber in the back, which I think is kind of fun. Let's see. He's kind of cut off. And then there's another photo bomber in the back, which I like. I like photo bombers too. Look at these guys. Everybody, the men, their heads are cut off. Cracks me up. Just how they're kind of cut. They're taking pictures of people and they're kind of cut off. That is my favorite. It sounds weird, but it's just one of my favorite things. Let's see. Let's find a good one in here. This one. Everybody's over here and cut off except for her. This one, she's not completely cut off, but I still like that one. I just think they're kind of funny. They make me laugh. Anyways, but I have a tin of these, and my favorites I will take pictures of, and so that I have I can keep reusing the photo and just kind of have a copy of them. So I do keep copies, most of them actually, because if I just don't want to waste the original photo. So I kind of end up with a stash of old photos. The cabinet card ones are a lot of my favorites too. But anyways, I hope this kind of gives you an idea. And so like there are Facebook groups, there's Etsy, there's eBay, flea markets, antique sales, secondhand stores. There are so many places and so many different things that you can look for. And you just kind of have to find what you're into. And I'm interested if you have some that you're interested in that I did not mention, like leave it in the comments. I love to hear what you collect. Thank you for watching, and for more content like this and more content with art journaling and mixed media inspired posts, subscribe for more.